All right, we are going to do 10-4. Go ahead and do the warm-up. 10-4, so we just learned how to solve quadratics. We learned to solve quadratics by factoring in Chapter 9. We just learned how to do it with graphing, and now we're going to learn how to do it with what's called completing the square. So basically with completing the square, you take an equation and you manipulate it the way you need to make it what we call a perfect square trinomial, which will then help us find our roots. It is a 7-step process. There's a lot that goes into it, so make sure you follow along, pay attention, and try to get a hold of these steps pretty quickly. So quadratic, we're making every expression a perfect square trinomial. So we're going to take something that's given to us, we're going to kind of manipulate it, move it around, put some extra numbers in to make it what we need to make it. Okay, this right here, I copied from a couple slides down because I'm going to do the steps as we go with this example, okay? So 7 steps, and we're going to do them as we go with this example. So it says to move the constants to one side of the equation, which means the number that doesn't have a variable attached to it has to be on the opposite side of the equation from where all the variables are. This is already done for us here, okay? Because the negative 18 is already on the other side of the equal sign. So we have x squared minus 10x equals negative 18. Oops. And then that's already done. So step 1, check. Constants on the other side. Step 2, divide b by 2. B is the number in front of the regular x, which in this case is negative 10. Divided by 2. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Step 2, check. Square the number found in step 2. So we had negative 5, and you're going to square it, and negative 5 squared is a positive 25. Done. Add that number, so 25, to both sides of the equation. So my original equation, well, from step 1, so x squared minus 10x, and then we had an equals negative 18. I'm going to add that 25 to both sides. So plus 25 plus 25. Okay, so add the number from step 3, 25, to both sides of the equation. Done. Now, factor the right-hand side. I mean left-hand side. I don't know my lefts and my rights. Factor the left-hand side. Okay, when we look at this left-hand side, it is a perfect square trinomial, okay? X squared is a perfect square, 25 is a perfect square. So all you have to do is factor it. So the square root of x squared is x, the square root of 25 is 5. There's a subtraction sign in between, put a squared. Now, they're always going to be perfect square trinomials because we made them that way. We turned it into that. And this number, this minus 5, is the same number from step 2, okay? So it should be pretty repetitive where you see that 9 minus 5 and then it factors into x minus 5, but then it's squared, equals, and then you just combine the numbers on the right-hand side. So just do negative 18 plus 25, which is 7, okay? So we took it, we factored the left-hand side, and we simplified the right-hand side, and that's what we have. Step 6 is to take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of something that is being squared, okay, so it's square root. The x minus 5 right now is being squared, so when I take it out, it just falls out as x minus 5. The 7, not so much, and 7 is not a perfect square. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave it in the root. If it doesn't come out perfectly, leave it in the root for now. But all square roots have 2 answers, okay? Because you can square a number, you can square a positive number and get a positive, or you can square a negative number and get a positive. So when you take that square root, we're going to have to put a plus and a minus in front of it, and plus or minus 7, okay? Or square root of 7. And then we solve for x. So we're going to get 2 equations. We have an x minus 5 equals the positive square root of 7, and x minus 5 equals the negative square root of 7. And then we solve for x. So you do the square root of 7. Oops. Yikes. Okay. Square root of 7. And then plus 5, because you have to add 5 to both sides. And let's just round the nearest tenth. So that's going to be 7.6. Come over here and, oops, yeah. And then do the negative square root of 7, also plus 5. And we get 2 point, we'll say 4. It was 2.35, so I just rounded the nearest tenth, so 2.4. And then that's it. That's where it crosses the x-axis. If you put the original equation into decimals, you would get those as your roots, okay? All right, so you have all the steps, so you can take a screenshot of this and kind of bring it down with you to help follow for the rest of them. Okay, step 1, move all your constants to the other side of the equal sign. So I have an imposter. I have this 3 on the wrong side. I need to move it over here by subtracting it. So I have to subtract the 3 from both sides to put all my constants on that side. So it gives me x squared minus 14x equals negative 13. Step 2, divide b by 2. My b is negative 14. I divide it by 2. I get negative 7. Step 3, square it. So negative 7 squared is a positive 49. Step 4, add it to both sides. So I have an x squared minus 14x and it equals negative 13. But now I'm going to add that 49 to both sides. All right, step 5, we are going to factor that left-hand side. It's a perfect square trinomial, so x and minus 7, because it's that number from step 2, squared equals negative 13 plus 49 is 36. Step 6, take the square root of both sides. So the x minus 7 falls out. This side needs a plus and a minus. Luckily, 36 is a perfect square, so it gets to come out as a 6. And then the last step is to solve. So I have x minus 7 equals 6, and I have an x minus 7 equals negative 6. This one's easier because I have whole numbers. So 7 plus 6 gives me 13. And then negative 6 plus 7 gives me 1. So that's where it's going to cross the x-axis. We already did this one with the example, so we're going to skip it. We'll do one more. Step 1. Move your constants to the other side, so we have to subtract that 9 over. So b squared minus 6b equals 16. Step 2. Divide b by 2. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Step 3, square it. So negative 3 squared is 9. Step 4, add it to both sides. So we have a b squared minus 6b. And you are going to be adding 9 to both sides. Step 5, factor the left-hand side, so it's going to be a b and the number from step 2, which is a minus 3 squared, equals 25. Step 6, take the square root of both sides, so the b minus 3 falls out. The right-hand side needs a plus or minus, and the square root of 25 is 5. And then step 7 is just to solve. So we have a b minus 3 is 5, and a b minus 3 is negative 5. So add that 3 over. So b is 8, or b is negative 2. And that's where we're going to cross the x-axis. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to bore you anymore. That's it, 10-4.